Awesome. Welcome everybody. Happy to see such a full packed participant window and welcome everybody and welcome Rohit. I have Rohit, Manan, Marino and Doug with me. I'm Cherish. I'm the DevRel engineer at Orkes and I'm joined with Rohit, who's going to be our co-host. Rohit, why don't you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, so welcome everyone. I am like overwhelmed to see this much response. Many people, or like 200 plus people, just applied for the meetup, and it is too nice. So I am developer advocate at Solo.io, and currently, I am organizing the DevOps community meetups all over the. We are planning for more meetups, but this is the our first event, and it is virtual one. So thanks for having us, and let's seeing forward to host a louder nice event for the today. Okay.
Cool. Awesome. Perfect. So this is great. I see more people rolling in as we speak. Great. I think we're just in time. So to start with our first, starting our first talk, we wanted to keep this close to the DevOps community because we've been hearing a lot about how to start with DevOps or what tools to use, and obviously you can get overwhelming with the amount of tools that we have, the amount of approaches that we have to kind of, solve a lot of common problems that a lot of DevOps engineers, SREs, support engineers go through. And I think we're starting with that. This is some of the use cases that we solve internally very closely, and I think no better to talk about this than Manan. Manan is a founding engineer at Orkes. He's worked with Swiggy, and other GS and other big companies, and has used Conductor before Netflix, which was founded by Netflix engineers who happen to be also the co-founders of Orkes. And with that, I think Manan, I let you, present and introduce yourself and what your talk is going to be like.
Yeah, Charish, sure. So, hey guys, good evening. So, myself, Manan Bhatt, and as Charish mentioned, I'm the founding engineer at Orkes INC. So, yeah, I have around 9 years of experience, worked with Cisco, Adobe, GS, and currently with Orkes now. So, yeah, welcome aboard, guys. So, today's agenda would be what exactly is the conductor? Then we'll go through the internals of the conductor, just a high level, few terms. Then type of the task, like what are the type of tasks that conductor supports, how we can leverage the conductor for DevOps operations like cycles, and the actual use case where we at Orkes use conductor for our provisioning workflows. And then we will conclude the talk basically. So the first thing, what exactly is the conductor? So conductor is basically a platform created by Netflix, and then later it was open sourced. And basically it is implemented to orchestrate the workflows that span across the different microservices or different, we can say, as a systems. Right. So imagine we wanted to do some operations, or we want to execute some business logic. So as of now, we write a code and then test it and then do some sanity checks and then we deploy to production. Where in Conductor, it is a kind of JSON-based schema where we can define tasks, and then each task will do certain things, and then the moment we upload a new JSON, it is already available live. So it is basically a tool to reduce the time to market cycle. So since it is open source, so it is backed by open source Apache 2.0 license for commercial and non-commercial use cases. And Conductor is basically a polyglot. So we support all major SDKs as our client to a Conductor platform, be it a C#, Java, Python, TypeScript, JavaScript, Go. So all major programming languages are supported as SDK. So, and again, it is basically a tool to develop, orchestrate the microservice, right? So it is a kind of scalable, so we can easily add up the node, and that can, share a load. It can also be vertically scalable. So that is also one of the advantage. So, and it is currently being used by more than 100 plus organizations in their production environment. So again, like, yeah. So yeah, as I mentioned, so internals of Conductor. So Conductor has a notion called workflow and task. So each task we can take it example as a step in maybe a Jenkins pipeline, right? And workflow can be a represented as or think it of as a pipeline itself. So workflow will consist a set of tasks that maybe we have to perform, right? So conductor task can be further divided into like three categories, like three buckets. One is a system task. So it is basically HTTP task, like we invoke the HTTP API. The event task is like we are publishing an event to external queuing system. Inline task is just to do some post processing on the resultant object or populating the input to the task. JSON JQ is again a transformation layer written to like do some operations on the JSON schema, like, right. Conductor also supports the operators. Now the operators are like programming construct, like we have do while as a loop, fork join, like we want to execute the jobs in parallel, right? Then we can use fork join. A sub workflow, again, it's a task. So it is a like workflow inside workflow kind of analogy. The dynamic fork means we want to execute something in parallel, but we don't know how many parallel streams we are going to create. So that's where the dynamic fork comes into the picture. The switch case is again like explanatory, like switch case in the programming language. Terminate task to terminate the workflow, and basically wait task, which means we are waiting for some event, right? Like maybe a job to get completed, or maybe a build to get completed or something, right? Worker task, again, the third bucket is a user-defined implementation of any task. So let's say I want to do some database operations where I don't want the keys and secrets to be visible onto the Conductor UI. So I can write a code in my choice of programming language, and then basically I can implement a task, and then Conductor basically can deliver it, and then we can execute a task. Now, Conductor also has internal queue. So currently, Netflix has provided implementation of Redis-based implementation, but community has added MySQL and PostgreSQL also as a internal queuing implementation. As a store side, again, like Netflix has Redis and Elasticsearch as a persistent store, and again, like community has added MySQL and PostgreSQL as a store implementation, right? So basically, the queue and store is a kind of plug and play interface. Like whatever systems we want to use it, we just have to implement it, and then we can use it. So it is a kind of pure plug and play kind of system. So as I mentioned, like there are certain type of tasks that we can leverage, right? So here here is a sample of HTTP task. Now we can see on the right side, like we can define the URI, all HTTP method like get, put, post. We can even tune the timeout parameters, like how much read time, how much connection time Conductor should wait upon triggering the HTTP task. And we can imagine, like we can leverage this HTTP task as like whenever any commit happens, we can make HTTP call to start a workflow, and then Conductor can take over from that. So whenever any commit happens, we'll execute the test, then do sanity checks and all those checks, and then we can by default deploy to dev or testing environment, right? So this is how we can leverage the HTTP task. There is another, like again, this is operator task. So do while is again a loop task. So something that we want to run in a loop. So we can put it as a part of 2 while task. So sometimes what happens, like due to intermittent issue, like number of times we see that due to some intermittent failure, the unit test gets failed or integration test fails, right? So we want to try that again. Now comes the main part, like if we retry the whole pipeline, then it will take like considerably high amount of time. Even we can retry the last steps also, but we want our CI/CD tool to retry it without our external or manual intervention, right? So we can define a loop count to be 2 or 3 sometimes, and then just to avoid any kind of intermittent issue. So this is very useful. Like, so again, the operator is for join. So whenever we want to execute something in parallel, just like Jenkins has parallel jobs, right? This is exactly same. So we basically, when the build is ready, we can execute unit test and integration test in parallel. We can do some kind of sanity checks also in parallel, like compute some SHA or memory footprints or something, right? So those things that can run in parallel, we can use fork join task to do that job. Another example can be whenever the test results are ready, we can upload that results to multiple different systems like a database, or like if we have no SQL store just for the UI purpose, then we can upload there. Again, another example can be like trigger notifications to different system regarding the build status, right? Either via email or via Slack or any other system, right? So those things that can run in parallel, we can use fork join task to implement that. So again, like the left side of the image, I have taken reference from Jenkins website. So this is a traditional workflow or sequence of jobs, right? Like whenever someone commits, we build, we test, then we do deployment of stage, or we do deployment to dev and QA. Same thing we can do in a conductor, and the conductor workflow will look like this. So as of now, like I have kept every task as a simple task because like in Jenkins, we write as a Groovy script or shell script, but here we can write in any choice of our programming language, right? So that's why I just kept all the tasks as simple, but this is how overall workflow looks like whenever we are migrating any Jenkins pipeline to a conductor system. Right. So like here are few of the points where a conductor advantage of a conductor over a traditional CI/CD like Jenkins or Circle CI, right? So first of all, like conductor is very lightweight. Like we can, in fact, run everything in sub 100 MB or 200 MB memory usage and very less CPU usage. Since conductor has internal queue, so it is basically asynchronous in nature, right? So everything is asynchronous, and like as and when the task completes, conductor will take care of scheduling and everything in an asynchronous manner. It is scalable and doesn't have any single point of failure. So we can deploy multiple instances of conductor within our environment. And if one of the node goes down, other node will take up the task immediately. So it means it is a kind of resilient in nature. So basically, unless all nodes are failure, still we store everything in memory. So whenever conductor platform as a platform comes up, it will regain its state from where it was failed and then completes the job. Now conductor, again, as I mentioned, like it's a JSON based schema versus the Jenkins has Groovy, right? Circle CI has YAML notations. So like, I mean, it's a choice. Like JSON, basically JSON is widely used. So that's why I have put it into advantage. But yeah, I mean, another important point for conductor is debuggability via UI. So conductor has very nice UI where we can see the execution of each step, the start time, end time, the logs, how it went, right? So all the status, so all those things can be easily done via UI. So basically it helps in case to find the particular failure, right? And again, it has a drag and drop functionality. So as and when we want to create a new step or new task, we can do it in the UI very easily. The major advantage here, again, it's a support of dynamic fork. So let's say sometimes we don't want to run integration test, or sometimes we don't want to run unit test. So in Jenkins pipeline, what we can do, we can kind of write a if else block and bypass those things that we don't want to execute. But as and when the pipeline grows, these things can become messy. So Conductor supports dynamic fork. So at dynamically, or we can say at the runtime, Conductor will figure out that what are the things or what are the tasks that we have to execute as a part of workflow that will execute. Another thing is a support of secrets. So in Jenkins, like we execute a bunch of shell script and it requires a particular token or username, password, or secrets, right? So the one who has access to the shell script will be easily able to see the secrets, right? But here in Conductor, we can tune it at more granular level, that even if I am able to see the pipeline execution, even though like workflow execution, but I won't be able to see the values of the secrets. So that is like transparent to user. So that is like providing more granular control over the pipeline, or we can say the workflow. Again, granular update to multiple systems or queues. Again, this is one of the important features. So sometimes what happens, like whenever our pipeline runs, we want to after each step, we want to perform some activity, right? So as of now, how we can do that? We'll add a step in the Jenkins pipeline, and then we can do the notification. But Conductor can inherently do that. No, like we don't have to configure a task for that. We can just specify the system or queue. It can be a Kafka, it can be Amazon SQS. So automatically Conductor will write those updates to that queue. The storage cost part. So like Jenkins has plugin to store everything onto the Elasticsearch. But Elasticsearch tends to be on the costlier side compared to PostgreSQL. So, and generally what happens, like whenever, like this is based on my experience, like, so as and when the audit comes, right, they can ask for maybe a pipeline run of 6 months back or 12 months back or something, right? So that's where this comes handy basically. So PostgreSQL is very cheap. So Conductor can store all the execution information to PostgreSQL. And again, one of the important point is reach community support. So like, so Conductor has very reach community support. Like we can post a question or we can start a discussion and people will basically jump in very quickly. So yeah, so this is like, this is just like the example of how Conductor can be used as a deployment of an application workflow. Yeah, so I mean, this is just a very high level workflow. So whenever the workflow runs, we will provide the environment to which our application has to be deployed upon. So either the environment can be staging, prod, test, and by default, I have kept it as a developer environment. Now, as and when we want to deploy application to particular environment, we prepare that environment and then do the deployment. So the task like prepare dev environment, prepare staging environment, prepare prod environment, prepare test environment, those tasks we can think it of as like creating kind of proper set of environment variables, installing a kind of database, or if the database is there, creating a schema, all those basically pre-deployment stuff, right? That we can do as a part of any prepares task. And deploy application is the actual task that will deploy the application to that particular environment. So like dev, staging, prod, like and test, right? So this is a high level workflow where like there are
Oh,
yeah.
Manan, can you hear us?
Yeah.
I think the presentation kind of went down. Can you try presenting again? That's fine.
Yeah. Is it fine now?
I don't see the presentation. Can you guys see it?
No, presentation is not presented yet.
That's fine, Manan.
Okay.
Do you still have the presentation option available?
Yeah. I'm sharing my slide.
Yeah, it is minor lag, no problem. Yeah, go ahead.
Rohit, are you able to see the presentation? Like,
I'm not able to. No, Manan.
okay. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
1 minute. One minute, guys. Let me again share.
That's no worries.
Yes.
That's fine. Yeah, we're back.
Yeah. So, yeah. Sorry, guys. Some issue on my network. So yeah. So what we have discussed. So like the example of the deployment workflow, right? Like we can deploy based on the type of environment being passed as workflow input. We can deploy that particular environment, right? So now this is the example of the actual workflow what we use at Orkes to for our provisioning, like Conductor provisioning workflow. So some of the tasks, like basically this is a very small snippet of the actual workflow. Like actual workflow is very big. Like it cannot be fit into one screen. In fact, so like what we do, we have kind of Kubernetes based deployment. So we launch a cluster deployment. Then we'll wait for some 1 minute to wait till the time it actually gets launched. Then we allocate Kubernetes cluster. We add the certificates. We add the IAM roles. Allocate Elastic Cache. So allocate basically Redis for that. Allocate RDS. So RDS means like either MySQL, PostgreSQL, or Elasticsearch, like so. Then we configure auth 0. Then we have kind of namespacing across the customers. So we create that. Then we actually deploy the conductor to Kubernetes. Then like we deploy Prometheus and agent. This is what we call as a worker to Kubernetes cluster, and configuring root 53 and all those things, right? That can be done at the later stage. So this is the example of how we leverage Conductor to actually deploy to particular customer's environment, right? So like to conclude the talk, like Conductor can very well fit into a current DevOps architecture. Like even if we don't want to replace the Jenkins or Circle CI or this, then at least we can leverage the Conductor orchestration part so that it can be in sync with the traditional CI/CD systems, and it can like the systems can offload some kind of like the operations to Conductor, like notification, all those things, storage part to Conductor, and we can leverage there. And like generally speaking, like we write all the things in bash script, like shell script in Jenkins. So those scripts can be very well executed as a user-defined task in Conductor. So it is just like hot swap kind of thing. So yeah, and yeah, this is the last point. Basically, existing customer use cases. So Frames basically use Conductor for their networking operations, network security related operations. Swiggy uses for their order workflow. Like in fact, I was a part of Swiggy, and we were using Conductor. Tesla uses for their their order workflow. Now here comes the interesting part. Like Tesla, one car order from to delivery takes around 6 to 8 months. When in Swiggy, it takes roughly 40 minutes or 30 minutes. So Swiggy uses at very high scale Conductor compared to Tesla. So here we can see how fast the Conductor can be used upon, right? Florida Blue, again, it's a health insurance company. Like it uses Conductor for their insurance workflow. And yeah, the last client is basically mobile. Basically, it's a fintech company. So yeah, guys, I see few questions already posted. So I'll go through it one by one. But yeah.
Thanks, Manan. Super helpful. And I think this clarifies a lot of questions that I had. And I think pretty interesting questions also that we've gotten. I believe you can read them, right? Rohit, if you want to ask them, you go ahead.
Yeah. Let's go. Oh, thank you for this talk. It was really amazing. It was awesome. So we have some questions from our attendees. So first one is parameters for configure Redis. So it is like how many nodes, which one use the Redis cluster or Redis standalone, which one is performant. So can you answer that question?
Yeah, right. So basically, again, it's a part of Conductor configuration. So where we can provide a Redis configuration like host, port, rack, type of Redis like standalone, Sentinel, right? So those we have to put it in the Conductor application properties file, and Conductor will fetch it from the properties file. I mean, typically kind of Spring Boot application, right? So
Yeah. So next question is from Devam Parik. Do we have a rollback feature like we have in Argo CD? So yeah.
yeah, so Conductor has a rollback feature. Basically, like we can kind of retry the task or rerun the task. But like I don't have experience with Argo CD, but here the rollback like means cleaning up the resources so that we can specify in a set of another workflow that we can use it as a part of rollback. So Conductor has a concept called failure workflow. So if something goes wrong, we can trigger the failure workflow. And in that failure workflow, we can do kind of resource cleanup kind of thing, like clear stale data, orphan data. Those kind of thing we can do in Conductor.
So Chris has more questions. So he's asking what is the difference between enterprise and open source Conductor? So yeah.
Yeah. So enterprise Conductor is very efficient, like in terms of number of concurrent workflows we can leverage per resources. We have rollback access also. And there are a bunch of other enterprise feature like we have added. So yeah, like we have Kafka integrations. Yeah.
Thanks, Manan. Just one more thing, right? Like after, I think a lot of these questions will be relevant even after your presentation. So if you could stick around and type the answers while others speak, I think that'll also help
exactly.
people who will join later, right?
Yeah. I can type the answers in line. Like yeah.
Great. We have another 2 minutes to kind of let you answer a few more questions. I think we're here at is Postgres SQL easily configurable? Have you? And then we have another few questions. Do you want to go through that, please? Quickly?
Yeah. I mean, in 2 minutes,
Yeah, I
I'll
guess.
just say orally. Like
Yeah,
if you
I guess.
want.
Yeah. Let me. Can you hear me? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, there are a couple of good questions, but as we have less time, you can answer in this chat box. But one question, I guess it is informant for everyone. So Sushil is asking, I have started learning DevOps 3 months before. I don't have much idea about Conductor. Could you please tell how about Conductor in brief? So it will go give them overview also, and how you can include the DevOps and conductors both into
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can share talks regarding the conductor, and I mean, if we think it in this way, like, so each step of Jenkins pipeline can be you know uh, think of as a task in conductor. So that is like AB. So yeah, but I can attach a proper documentation link to the answer of Sushil. So yeah.
Cool. Perfect. I think we can move on to the next one while I think Manan answers these questions over chat, right?